Welcome to Big Ideas, the podcast where three co-hosts rotate roles to explore real conversations, meaningful ideas, and the decisions that shape our lives. I'm Justin Gabassi, a world traveler, human optimization coach, musician, and deep thinker who brings curiosity and a range to every conversation. This week, I'll be leading the conversation with my co-host, Mark Steiner. Mark Steiner is the CEO and founder of Gig Salad, an entrepreneur, creative, and leader who's spent decades building companies, culture, and people. Hey, Mark, what's up, bro?
Yo, yo.
Our featured guest this week is our very own Jessica Broadway. Jessica is a coach, speaker, and author who works with leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals navigating seasons of change. Hello, Jessica.
Hello.
Hello, Jessica.
Let's take our POV real quick. What's Mark? I'm going to start with you, man, because you are the birthday boy. First of all, can I say that? It is your birthday.
You did now.
All month.
No editing. The birthday boy. Where's the birthday boy at this week, man?
Austin, one of my favorite places in the world. I just love it here so much. Here for South by Southwest. Nice. It started yesterday. Yeah, we're in day 2, and already I've had the most incredible experiences. My daughter Olivia flew in to join me for kind of a birthday celebration. It is my 60th, and but to also participate in South by, and it's been a whirlwind first day. Great food, incredible music, really super sessions. So I'm learning and growing and having the time of my life.
I love it, man. Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you.
I'll have to give you some birthday love and maybe a couple birthday spankings when I get back to the U.S.
Yes.
Jessica, where are you at today? I know you've already been like 10 places and it's early in the morning there and you've already been everywhere and still look all put together. So,
yeah, it's funny. I'm in Nixa, Missouri in my home studio. Someday I think I'm going to go like on my morning like routine first, because it sounds like I'm only here in Nixa, but I'm really like everywhere in Nixa. So,
and sometimes beyond, sometimes way beyond Nixa.
Sometimes. Yeah, this summer if we'll do a recording, we'll be at the beach, and I'm going to do a recording on the beach since you get to do all the beach recordings.
Right, yeah.
I know, but it's been lining up where it's nighttime a lot. So I've been waiting for that optimal time to like have the beach, sunny beach in the background, but we'll do that. We'll do that sometime soon. So I'm still here right now in Thailand, and I'm still on Koh Phangan Island. I extended my visa, and I'm going to stay here a little longer because I'm in a nice rhythm and I love it here. And before I start heading to the next place, which I will tell you about when I get there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Surprises. Well, let's. What do you think, Mark? Should we kick this thing off? Jessica's in the hot seat today. We get to grill our very own Jessica Broadway and pick her brilliant brain of all the cool things that she's so good at.
That's what a perfect segue. All the things she's good at, and I know the thing that she's probably the best at, and probably the thing that brings her the most joy, satisfaction, and that is the role of mother. You and your family, Jessica, they're pretty amazing. But you as a mother, let's start there. I want to hear about you raising 3 boys in this modern time.
Oh boy.
Tell the audience what they need to know.
Gosh, that has been one of the most, people seek adventure, and I'm like, I don't have to look far from the 4 walls of my home. Every day seems like an adventure, you know. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and I have a brother that is 16 months younger than me, and so it went girl, boy. And one thing I learned early on was that we always like seemed to fight a little bit more, and I didn't quite understand it till I was getting my degree in psychology and family studies, and I was learning about family structures and birth orders and gender roles and all that, how that plays into it. And they said that when there's a change from firstborn to secondborn and the firstborn's a girl, sometimes they're not fighting because they're so close in age, but they're competing for the identity of firstborn because there's a firstborn girl and firstborn boy.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, that's it. I want a boy first. So I knew that I wanted to have a boy first. And then what was interesting though, is even though I was like, I want to have a boy first, I didn't realize I had some hidden expectation that I would have a girl first. And so when I went to the ultrasound and they were like, hey, it's a boy, I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, we're doing this. We're going to have a boy first. And it just dawned on me how much of what we have lived plays a role in what we think we're going to get, like just the expectation of it. And so then baby number 2 comes along. We go to the ultrasound and they say, it's a boy. I was like, really? I looked at Josh. I was like, 2 boys. Okay. He's a boy. He's the oldest. And then he has a brother. And so there are 2 boys in their family. So I was like, that tracks, And then number 3, it's a boy. And okay. And by this point, when I found out I was pregnant with Macklin, I really was praying. I was like, I do want a boy. And people often say to me, like, did you want a girl? Did you want a girl? I was like, no, I wanted another boy. I knew how to be that. I knew how to do that. And I wanted another boy really badly. So I was very grateful for that. But as I start on my journey, I really love fashion, dressing up, lipstick, hair curling, and all those kinds of things. And so naturally people do ask me, like, are you sad you didn't have a girl? Or they'll talk about that a little bit. And they'll say, you make a good boy mom. And I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, what do you mean a boy mom? I'm not like a tomboy. I don't understand that. And so it's just interesting what people say to moms that have all boys. That's a different world for sure. And you have to look at things differently and be aware that you don't have mama's boys, you're raising men. And that's a really important charge, and making sure that they have a healthy model of what it's like to you're their first example of a relationship with a woman, and how you treat them, how you honor their decisions, how you hear their heartbroken hearts. It's going to shape their expectations for how their wife will listen to them someday. So I take that role very, very seriously, and it's been evolving, and maybe someday we'll dive deeper into the evolution from boyhood to manhood, because that's been an interesting journey, walking with the boys and watching them start to explore their alphaness, like that's just, there's a lot of testosterone in our house. We have 17, 14, and 11 right now. And the 11-year-old asks me every day, am I in puberty yet? Nope, you're not. Trust me. When you get there, everybody's going to know. So
you won't have to ask.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to ask you a hard question just out of the gate here. You wrote a book, which I'd like you to just touch on really quick, about this very thing. And the 3 of us have had a lot of conversations about relationships and dating and stuff like that. And right now on the planet, there's a lot of opinions about the masculine versus the feminine, and the role of the man and the role of the woman. And so, you could take a pretty specific stance depending on how you choose to raise your child, right? And how you would specifically raise a boy to engage, like you mentioned, if they end up, in that kind of relationship, man-woman relationship and that kind of thing. So where do you begin these days? Because you know what I mean?
Yeah. The short answer is it's very helpful if you have a strong father figure. If they have a strong relationship with their dad, obviously that is a cornerstone that can't be overlooked. That's really important. But there's also a significant role that moms play in the growth and the development of these young boys. And I think it's important to understand that there's 3 stages to your life. There's the attachment phase, and that's those early foundational years. But then they go through a detachment phase where they're supposed to kind of pull away and find their own autonomy. And then so that they can have healthy reattachment to their partner later in life, to their parents in a different season. But what happens a lot of times, I see in the mom of boys role, is when they start detaching in that detachment phase, the moms take it personally. And then you get that I'm your mama and you better do what I say. You know, you get the power play for authority over that. And sometimes that can be crushing to their growth as a man and being able to voice their opinion with women and learn what it's like to disagree without becoming disagreeable, and learning how to engage in conflict resolution. And it's just interesting to watch that. I remember the first time Landon kind of challenged me, and boy, did I want to pull rank. You know, I was like, excuse me, you know, and maybe the Holy Spirit came over me, but we were standing in the hallway and I just started laughing and I just smiled and I said, wow, I didn't realize you had such strong feelings about that. And I said, what did you think was going to happen next? And he goes, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you were like pretty wound up. What was your plan next? Like, you know, he's like kind of kind of did the chest bump thing, like chest flexing out. And it wasn't physical. It was just that natural, like posturing of, I got something to say, you know? And I was like, what was the plan there? What did you think was going to happen next? I don't know. And I was like, well, that's something you ought to pay attention to, because you're becoming a man now, and it's never okay to use your power and your strength against someone. Your job is now switching to, instead of being under my wing, your job is to switch that and be protective of me. It's a totally different dynamic. And you're going to need to learn how to steward that and do it well, you know. And that was about the time I started outsourcing conversations. So like, you know, he was naturally challenging the relationship with me, as they should when they are detaching from mommy, you know, and growing into their own and that stage. But I remember telling Josh, like, okay, so here's the list of things. I hope you guys have a good drive to school, you know, because it needed to shift. And it has been really a pleasure raising boys and doing it with a partner that is invested in raising men as well, and wanting to teach them those lessons. And I know that's not everybody's story, but there are things that, you know, are key and foundational. And that's just realizing that most parenting isn't personal. Like most of the struggle between you and your kids, it's not personal. They're not trying to hurt you. But their brains can't articulate it yet. They don't have the discernment and self-control. Their brain isn't even fully developed. So if you become unoffendable as a parent, and trust me, it's evolving every single day, but learning how to become unoffended by your kids, it's a pretty good skill to work on.
There's a lot to unpack there. And if you gave us, for people that want to dive deeper, maybe more than what we have time for, because there's a lot of ground we both, Mark and I, want to cover today with you. Can you give us a little insight about the book? And if people are like, man, she really seems like she's on point about this, I want to know more about all that, which is probably right why you wrote the book, right? Can you give us a little taste?
Yeah. So A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts is the book I wrote. It's not a parenting book, but it is about raising. There's an element to raising kids that requires you to kind of reparent yourself or raise your own brave and discover that and do the work to heal, so that you're not parenting from a place of trying to overcome your past, but present with what your child needs and the season that your child is in. So I do touch on that quite a bit in the book, and learning to do that inner brave work of healing, so that you can move from brave to courageous by taking actions that are intentional and purposeful. So that would be a good place if people want to read that and start that journey, for sure. But on my website coming soon, you'll be able to download some resources on brave motherhood and learning how to grow and heal as a mom, but also some great worksheets on influence versus control, and learning that becoming your kid's number one influencer is really a key. It's much more valuable than trying to control your child. And there's a dynamic there that is really important that we grasp, and we do that shift as parents to influencing our kids versus trying to control them. So they can check those resources out as well at jessicabroadway.com.
That's great. Jessica, you mentioned, raising boys and they become men, and you referenced, of course, Josh, who is the man in your life, the solid man. Talk about that. Talk about him. Talk about being a wife to a really solid husband, but co-parenting, and tell us a little bit about that.
We met when I was 16 at church camp. So we knew nothing about life, but that was back in the old instant messenger days where you'd jump on and
Very cool.
we chatted and we did a little IM and we stayed friends through that time. And then I came up to Missouri to visit a mutual friend of ours, and I went to visit him at the radio station. And as they say, the rest is history. So we stayed up all night talking, and he took me on a date the next day, and we just, started calling each other on the phone. He'd send me radio. It was back when you could listen to the radio online and like download the station. And so he would send me songs over the radio. I was actually telling Macklin about that the other day. I turned on the radio in the car, and there was music, and then the DJs got in, they were bantering. And he goes, "Are we listening to a podcast? Or are we listening to music?" And I was like, "It's called the radio." And I told him, I was like, "Your dad used to be a DJ. He had his own nighttime show." And so we've had fun, like raising ourselves together. We were so young when we got married. I was 20 and he was 21. And I just think of like Landon's 17, and that was like, I'd already met Josh by then. And we were already friends, and we were thinking about, we were growing our friendship. And I just can't imagine that for my kid now. So, I thought I was grown and mature, and I'm 20 and I knew a whole lot of nothing, but we've been married 23 years in May. And
Bravo.
Yeah, we are. One thing that I love about being a wife, or that I would give advice to people that are starting out, is that your husband doesn't need a critic. He needs a cheerleader. And part of that raising men and encouraging men is realizing that we were created to we're incredible influencers as women. We can influence men's decisions pretty easily. And you're responsible. That weight of that is a huge responsibility. If you did nothing else but study and make sure that you are doing the work on yourself to heal, to get healthy, to be sound and grounded, because everything you do influences the decisions he makes. So he doesn't need a critic. He needs someone to cheer for him, to call to his manhood and his strengths, and to show him, not tell him how he can get better, but make it safe for him to learn how to get better. That's the journey for me as a wife, is what I want to be committed to. And that one facet of it takes a lot of courage, because your ego gets in the way all the time. But it is important to me, and I'm really grateful for him, and I love being his wife. He makes it a pleasure to be his wife. It's like, I can't believe we've been married 23 years, and it just, as cliche as it sounds, it's felt like no time at all. And I think that is a lot to be said for the way that we respect one another, and we have rules. We're not like, I guess that's another tip I could give people that are getting married or thinking about it or starting a long-term relationship, is you need to start out with rules of engagement. How are you going to engage in conflict with one another? What are you going to say and what are you not going to say? And that was something we did very early on. No name calling ever. And no threatening to leave. Like, those are the two. And that's really been paramount in how we have conversations. I feel safe. I don't feel like he's going to attack me and call me names or belittle me, and vice versa.
I don't know what you think, Mark, but that's, for the listeners, anybody that has an opinion about anything you just said, if you just look at the success rate of, you guys are a success, especially amongst sort of the odds right now, of people that are married at your age, especially starting that young, but just in general, so like, obviously something you guys are doing is right.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Don't compare your marriage to somebody else. I can tell you what works for me, But if you're looking at me, you're not looking at your partner, you know? And if you're looking at someone else to see why their marriage is the way it is, you're not looking at your partner. And you definitely need to be like, I guess this is, if you look at conflict, like you're facing each other and the fights between the two of you, does that make sense? Like if you're, sorry, my mic just decided to take a dive off the table. So it's like if you're dealing with conflict and you're facing each other like this, right? Then you made the fight about what's between you two, but it's not between you two. It's about the problem you're facing. So you have to turn, you have to make sure that you're locked arms and that you're side by side looking out at the problem and saying, how can we solve this together instead of fighting against each other in a power struggle? Does that make sense?
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so cool.
But don't, in doing that, looking at each other is really how you connect. And you say, I'm doing this with you. I don't care what they're doing. And you study your partner to find ways that you can help them be the best they can be. And that's a mutual thing. Someone said a long time ago, advice I heard was, if you want an A+ marriage, you can't have 2 C+ people, right? The average doesn't work. So you have to work on being an A+ person, doing the work to heal you so that you don't bring that baggage in and project that and add the burden. It's an individual journey of autonomy and growth that contributes to a thing that you're creating together.
Right.
Holy crap. I mean, we're 22 minutes in and like, I feel like the mics are dropping all over the place already.
I feel the same. But
I don't know, Mark, right?
Cover. I mean,
gosh. So, okay, well, you've just covered like basically 2 full-time jobs.
Yes.
But I'm going to switch gears.
Okay.
And arguably like the most important jobs on the planet. The relationship with your significant other and raising human beings. But you're also a very successful entrepreneur. And I would like to hear a little bit about that journey, like where it began. And now here we are, right? You have a proven track record now. So how do you get from point A to point B?
Well, the short answer is you just do it. Entrepreneurship is not something you get the luxury of thinking about. You literally have to do the work. And it took me a long time to learn the formula for that I'm going to share with everyone who's listening, because it will save you a lot of years of pain and paralyzing thoughts of what you should do next. But my very first entrepreneurial gig was car washing at the age of probably 12. My neighbor and I decided we want some extra money. And so we were like, let's go wash some cars. And then we started going around and people were like, well, why are you washing cars? We realized that we needed a why. I'm 12 years old and I'm realizing like people don't pay you unless they know why you're doing something, you know? And it could be anything, just it has to be something. You have to have a reason for why you're doing something. And of course, being a preacher's kid and growing up, you know, the life beyond what your present circumstances is was something baked into me from an early age anyhow. But so we came up with this idea that we're like, what's a good cause we could get behind? Oh, let's save exotic fish. So, I mean, it didn't make any sense on paper, but I think that everybody just like admired our gumption to, you know, show up every week and hand wash their cars. My kid whines about not being able to go through the drive-through car wash. I have very little empathy for him because I'm like, dude,
wow.
There's like a bucket of hot soapy water and like you just hope you don't burn your hands while you're washing cars. Yes. But that was the kind of the beginning for me, a taste of being able to go out and create what you wish existed if you were just willing to do the work. And then there's just a kind of a string of those opportunities that I tried, and then I would lose interest or start over or do something different. And then I got in a different situation where I got a degree and I was like, all right, I got to go get a job, you know, because you get out of school and the gig thing is over temporarily, for lack of a better, you just, that's the assumption is you got to go get a job. And so we were in property management for a while, hotel industry, and I worked privately for the state of Missouri. And then in the private, or I worked in the public sector for the state of Missouri. And then I was recruited to the private sector to do some advocacy work for people struggling with disabilities. And then I had one baby and then two babies. And by the end of the first baby, like having a baby and going back to work, and breastfeeding and trying to pump in the break room and do all this stuff. Like it was a full-time job just trying to make sure my kid had milk. You know, I'd get up at 2 a.m. and go sitting in there, like falling asleep using the breast pump, you know, and then make sure they had bottles for the day. And then my breaks and my lunches, all of that was in this little closet, just trying to make sure. And I was like, that's it. I got to find a way out of this. I cannot. And a friend of mine at the time, she said, Jessica, you know, I know it's not your ideal situation, but if you can focus on quality time versus quantity of time, then it does help if you have to be working outside of the home, out of your ideal situation. So I really focused on quality time. But then number 2 came along and I was like, quality time is not enough anymore. I need quantity of time as well. I need both in my life. And so I did what every person wanting to get out of their corporate job should do, and that's go find some sort of direct sales company that will pay you to tell people about their products. Easy money. Yeah. Find something you like, tell a whole bunch of people. If they're going to pay for marketing or they're going to pay you, you pick. And I said, 6 months, I'm out of here. And in 6 months, I replaced my income and jumped into the great wild west of direct sales and network marketing and affiliate affiliate programs. And when I started that, there was not very many people doing that at all. As far as I could tell, there were people doing it, but not in my age range yet with little kids. And the side gig thing was still very much branded to the Amways and the Avons, you know, like those models from years and years ago. And what happened was so fascinating is I got stuck in this donut hole I didn't expect. I thought I was going to go home and be like, I work for myself. And all the moms were like, well, what do you mean you work for yourself? I was like, well, I have a direct sales business. You know, I'm doing affiliate marketing. And, oh, so you're not really a stay-at-home mom. You still have a job. Yeah. Okay. And then the moms that were working were like, well, you're not really a working mom because you kind of do it from home. Like all this is like pre-COVID and all that stuff. So working from home was not something people did at all, really, at that season. And that was kind of hard. I had to create my own space in the world. And that's kind of where the mommy boss mindset was born, where I could integrate being a mom and a boss. And how do I stay engaged in motherhood and empowered in the business space, you know? And like that was when my mindset was born for that. And so you have to have a mindset that allows you to integrate your life as an entrepreneur. It can't be either or. You'll just find yourself chasing your tail all the time. And there has to be that moment that you intersect and you blend the worlds together so that you can know how you want to show up. That's super important. And then the tip I would give everybody is realizing there's a formula to it. Launch, learn, and relaunch. That's it. Because far too often I launched something and didn't get the answer I wanted and I thought I failed. But instead of seeing it as failure, I saw it as learning. Okay, what did I learn from this? What are the results? What's the data? I noticed I didn't get the result that I wanted. I'm wondering what I'm missing. Is it knowledge? Is it belief? Is it strategy? Is it resources? And then it's just about like solving the puzzle, filling in the blanks and making it come together. So you have to get in this evolutionary mindset that you're just going to launch, learn from the launch, and then relaunch it again. And just keep going. And so, I've had quite a run at it. About 10 years ago, I started coaching outside of the network marketing business, written a couple of books, and expanded my kind of footprint in my services and what I'm able to offer people. I travel for speaking and intensive workshops and weekend women's retreats. I love doing those. That's really been a cup filling thing for me. And, you know, you don't need permission to start creating what you wish existed. If you find yourself wishing for something different, all you got to do is start doing it. and it will grow with you, but you got to be consistent. Launch, learn, relaunch, and just keep doing that formula over and over and over again till you get the result that you wanted.
Yes. And that can apply to a single business. I mean, you know, as an entrepreneur, we hear, the term serial entrepreneur,
Yeah.
which I don't particularly like, but
I like to say multi-passionate entrepreneur.
me too. Because the only other time you use serial is when it's like a killer,
Yeah.
right? So I don't, but you can, you do this in your single business if you're doing it right and you're constantly growing and evolving and iterating. It's you launch, you learn from what do you need to do to grow a little bit more, and as you said, you relaunch. But in your case, you took that principle and applied it to other businesses while you were doing the one thing, which is an incredible skill, number one, to be able to multitask and juggle so many different things at once. But it's to have the wherewithal to do it, to have the skill set to have these other visions and to think I can do that too, and you really have accomplished it with a lot of finesse and a lot of class. And I don't know anything you've done that's failed. Has there been any failures for you?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been tons of disappointment. I lost cumulatively probably close to $500,000 by not paying attention to my business growth. And that's the downside that people don't want to talk about in business is partnerships and trusting people to grow with you and not to go behind your back and disappoint you. And you can say, well, see, that's why I don't do that. Or you can say, wow, I just joined the Rebuilders Club. I can now say I've lost $500,000 in business and I came back from it. You know what I mean? There's two different ways to look at that. And there have been disappointments. There's been times where I've been in my closet crying because I'm just like, when I quit my job in indirect sales, there's different mile markers of rank advancements. And I quit my job right as I qualified for one of their car programs. And I got this new car, BMW. I happened to earn 3 cars while I was with that particular company. And I got the car, and then the next month, several people quit my team and my revenue dropped significantly. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Again, that was like, when I look back at the time, I didn't have that formula. So I was interpreting that as failure and like, see, there's a flaw in the system, or, I didn't do good enough, or I'm not this enough. And it was very difficult, but applying then, thank goodness I intuitively knew something different, because then I just learned and relaunched. I had a formula for success that just needed to be repeated. There was a attrition that needed to happen, because the same people cannot travel the entire journey with you. There's some level of cleansing that has to happen to create space so you can build what's next, so you can inspire others by continuing to keep going, right? So there's going to be those times in your life where you just have to, hey, I got to clear some space here. Who's leaving or who's coming with me? Right. Launch, learn, and relaunch.
It's really interesting. You've played in 2 big time spaces. You can speak to intelligently and successfully to both spaces, the direct selling and network marketing, and then more traditional style business, and then speak to the crossover. And Mark, you asked a pretty pointed question about like what you have to have some major grit, obviously. And what can you speak to the grief of the entrepreneurs face when they have, you were just throwing around some huge numbers, which are life-changing numbers at, how do you overcome that and keep grinding away?
Yeah, that's something that I'm super passionate about. When I first started exploring outside coaching, I really loved my team and working with them, but there was a healthy number of people that didn't want to do direct sales or network marketing. And I was like, well, how do I we're having the same problem. How do I help other people without them necessarily having to join my team? So it was a hard decision to decide to go, okay, I'm going to open up another facet for people to connect with me that isn't conditional on whether or not you're in my team or not. Does that make sense? And so I went through a particularly rough season. 2 years into starting my business, my grandfather and my dad passed away within 13 months. And that kind of just shook a lot of things for us. Here I am with a degree in psychology and Bible, and I can't think my way through it. I can't pray my way through it. I'm one of the most optimistic people that I know. I'm very positive, like get up and go, all of those things. And I'm sitting here soaking in the tub, crying my eyes out, and I can't move forward. And it didn't matter how many affirmations I said to myself every day, it wasn't working. And so I was like, if I'm struggling, not that I'm the end all be all, but if I'm struggling and I got this stuff going for me, what in the world is missing for everybody else? And that's when I discovered really the difference, the two-sided coin of loss and grief. Loss is the change in the pattern of behavior, and grief is whatever emotions you process or you don't process, right? Whatever you feel as a response to that loss. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get this and I'm going to study this and I'm going to become an expert in this field. And so I did. And I figured out everything you could know about grief and loss. And I was like, who do I really want to, I'll help anybody that's dealing with it, from parenthood to marriage, all through business. But there's an area with entrepreneurs and business owners that they almost have been sold a lie that they just have to grit it out, fake it till you make it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, do it, and do it some more. And they're like, this part and parcel of being sold this lie of toxic positivity is not actually fueling them, it's draining them. And they're using phrases like, I'm just burned out. And I think that there's just a piece of language that's missing from that space that is, nothing's wrong with you. You just have really broken tools for processing what's happening to you. Right. And without being able to acknowledge the loss that you've experienced, you'll hide it. And especially in the network marketing space. And I've got a little thing that I'm working on for them specifically, because it is a quite highly criticized industry. And so when something goes bad, or you don't like something, or someone leaves, there's like this hush hush game that comes with it. Because if it could deter someone from coming on board, or it could deter somebody from starting a business, or any number of things. Same thing in marriages, like, oh, don't tell anybody our problems, or they'll think we don't have our stuff together. Right. And so there's just that human condition that avoids that. But particularly in the business space, they're one of the most fun, loving, like mindset and growth people. They always want to move to the other side of something. And so if I can teach them the tools to recognize the loss that's impacting them, the things they wish were better, more, or different in their business, then I can create a bridge. We can build a bridge together to go from disappointed to re-engaged, right? Burnout to on fire again. And the reason I know that to be true is because if you made a list of all the things you wish were better, more, or different in your business, and I waved a magic wand and I fixed all of those for you, or I took away the emotional impact for you, you'd have so much fire. You would be unstoppable. But we accumulate these things because we don't have spaces to process them. We're charged with being the leader, the eternal optimist, if Mark goes down, if Mark's having a bad day, we're all screwed, right? Like there's this persona that you're charged with leading people forward and steering the ship. The captain can't go down, right? And so there has to be a space for us to have these deep dive conversations so we can help entrepreneurs, business owners recognize the impact of loss in their business. There's a staggering statistic for how much loss and grief impacts business productivity. And because you think about your employees that have a bad day and they have an abundance of things they wish were better, more, or different, they don't have the language to identify it and process it. How effective are they in the workplace?
Right.
No, that's lost revenue for you. Yeah.
This is good. This is really good. Jessica, you have done what a lot of entrepreneurs have done. You get all this experience, you've turned it into expertise, and then you start talking about it, and you took it one step further. And Justin's referenced this before, you've referenced this, but you have this book. You wrote a book. You wrote books. Tell us briefly what is that? What does that look like? How does one go from I'm going to write a book to you gotten published?
Yeah, I really want to tell people that it is like you have to write your story down. Everybody has a story, and everybody's story is worth telling. But not everybody needs to be a #1 bestseller.
Yeah,
So
right.
you need to know, why are you writing the book? Is it so you can be a #1 New York Times bestseller? I got news for you. That game is a different beast, right? Is it to tell your story, inspire others, help other people grow? Then performance metrics are out the window, right? It's about being committed to delivering the story. I didn't know anything about writing a book. I failed English more times than I've ever passed it in school. And I write like I talk. It's very conversation style. And so I was very intimidated at the idea of writing a book. I don't particularly love reading. I'd much rather listen. So I was like, what business do you have writing a book? You don't know grammar. You don't even read books. And like, what are you doing? But I am being obedient to doing somebody who's willing to do things that they might not be good at for the sake of doing it and showing others that you can do it too. And the thing that helped me the most to get started writing my book was this is my particular method of writing. It doesn't work for everybody, but I love collecting stories, and I think people connect through stories of the heart much better than they do the data or yes, they're step by step, but they want to be able to envision themselves in that experience and walk a journey with you. So I wrote down all the stories I felt like were foundational to doing the inner work to heal. Was the very first book. And if you're thinking you want to write a book, my first thing to tell you to do would be to write down all the stories that have shaped you. Write them down. And then look for the common thread that like kind of bonds all those together. And then that's the kind of the arch of your book. That's how you would get the story arc. Look for the common theme between them all. And then we live in a really cool age now that you can self-publish on Amazon. Guess who has to give you permission for that? Nobody. No one has to read your book and be like, man, you are a New York Times #1 author for sure. Nobody has to approve you anymore.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to tell a story and write a book has the ability to do that, because we live in such an amazing age where you literally, all you have to do is do it and you can put it out there. And I'm telling you, it's like, just detach from the outcome and fall in love with the process. And I like to say, honor the journey, trust the process. And the only way to honor the journey is to tell the truth, be open and honest about where you've been and what you've been through, and then trust the process of how it's all going to come together. If you do something, something will happen 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's right.
This is, so there's a process to this, it seems. I've gotten a peek behind the curtain because you and I co-wrote a book. So I got to see the brilliance behind this process. And me being an optimization guy, I'm obsessed with lists, as you know, to a fault. And you have this incredible methodology that I'm curious if it's also the basis for how you organize the structure of like the writing process, and then the way that you multitask, which is amazing as well. Like whenever you and I first started working together seriously, years ago, you would carry on. I still find this entertaining, Mark. I'm sure you can relate to this. Like, we'll be carrying on a really in-depth technical conversation, with Jessica. And then she's having also a very, very specific, important conversation with one of her boys. And for you or I, Mark, like we're out. Like I cannot multitask. And so when she used to go off the handle, like I'm like, oh, I've lost her. Like she's gonna, and I will even like be trailing off a sentence, and she's addressing something over here. She comes right back, heard what I said, addresses exactly what I said, and then has like a comment and then something to add. I'm like, what is happening?
Yes.
What's happening?
Never has to say, where were we?
Exactly. It's completely bonkers. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I got her this time. I got her. I know she lost track. And then boom, she's right back. And I'm like, how does this happen?
She's
but
a
anyway,
freak of nature.
so what's the process? Is it to-do lists? Is it something else? Like how do you structure and do all this?
So one facet that I decided to kind of deep dive into was neuroscience and brain-based strategies, because I wanted to understand really how my own brain worked and looking at the things that have been successful for me. And I was like, what's happening here? And one of the things that we know about, and mind mapping is what I call it. Some people call it brain dumping, but the concept of getting everything out isn't new to me, right? Perhaps the strategy is somewhat novel to the way I do it. I've seen lots of people do it different ways, and that's fine. But the thing you have to understand is that lists are really difficult to make because they force your brain to start trying to prioritize the value of the thing. And so like picking on you just a smidge bit, but when we say like there's a priority, like there's a list of things to do, you're like, okay, what's the most priority? And so like all the brain space is spent on trying to prioritize and trying to figure out, and then that low grade anxiety that comes with going like, did I pick the right thing to do first? Are these steps out of order? How am I going to do this? And most times, the very first step was just creating a web of connected thoughts. So that's the synapses in your brain, the neural pathways. They're not like, it's not like a computer with files in it. It's literally a web of information and connecting the dots. And so mind mapping allows you a more organic, natural process where you're not forced to prioritize what things get done, but you're honoring what needs to get done by recording it. And whatever you record, you can scale. Whatever you record, you can execute. It's trying to reduce the mental load of trying to store and hold all of the good ideas and creating a visual representation of it. Neuroscience says that we're not able to execute what we can't visualize. So a lot of times when people start goals and they do things like that, they're in their head or they're conceptual. They haven't created any visual representation. So if you've never been there before, it can feel like I don't deserve to be there, right? And so that's where we've kind of coined the phrase imposter syndrome. But the next time you're feeling that, just maybe remind yourself, it's not that I don't deserve to be here. It's that I haven't created a visual representation of what it looks like to be here. Right. And so I'm kind of my body and my nervous system saying like, we've never been here before. We don't know what to do. You know what to do. Take a breath,
right?
Scope it out, create a mind map of all the things. And from there, you get to break that down. So mind map might have like all of the facets that I want to do. Like when we did the show, we planned that I did a mind map out. Big ideas was in the middle, and then all the ways we wanted to see this explore. And then we've just taken the first thing the quickest thing, the thing you could do the fastest, not the most important necessarily, but the thing that could get executed the fastest. That's what builds the reps and builds the confidence that you can handle the rest. And so when I'm trying to prioritize, I do the thing that could be done fastest and quickest with the lowest amount of effort. And I do that first. And that's how I prioritize them.
I think I know what you're going to say. But for somebody that's listening, do you have any resources where somebody could get their feet wet on this?
Yeah, for sure. I have a studio on my website, jessicabroadway.com. And it's kind of full of free resources, things that you can do, jump starts for cultivating courage, and all these kind of worksheets that I've done over the years. I've kind of given them a home there that they can live and take a deep dive on it if they want to. Or they could book a sip and solve with me. I always leave those free, so you can book a sip and solve session, and we'll sip on something together, and we'll solve a problem or two.
Jessica, tell us all, tell the audience, because we we really skimmed the surface here. I think we've given a lot of great information. However, there's more, and there's more in the book. There's more in your other published works. You as a speaker, just what would be the 2 or 3 sources that they could go to? Give us a website. Give us a place to find the book or books.
Yeah. You can go to jessicabroadway.com, and my books are on Amazon. So you can search Jessica Broadway on Amazon, A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts. Also, Justin and I's book that we did together is called Success Roadmap, The Perfect Day. And you can learn a lot about how to live better, feel better. Sorry, I said it completely backwards. Feel better, think better, and live better. And what we know is that once you feel better, you can think better. And when you think better, you can live better. And so we did co-wrote a book together to help people start that. We also obviously teach that workshop live as well. But jessicabroadway.com is where you can go, kind of the home base, and you can take your journey, choose your adventure from there.
Awesome. And these two have a speaking program they'll do. Yes, hire Jessica, hire the two of them. They're rich with information. This has been really, I learned stuff today, and I thought I knew you. I don't know you.
Me too, man. And it like flew by too. I was like, I can't believe it's already been an episode length. It's like crazy.
Yeah, I guess there's going to have to be a part 2.
I think so.
Maybe so.
Yeah, most definitely. You can have my spot because I'll have like 10 minutes, maybe.
That's not true. I know your story. I can't wait to hear all your wisdom.
Well, yes. Soon enough. Listen, soon enough. And here's what we'll tell you. We want to say thank you. Thank you, listeners, audience, for listening to Big Ideas. We are a podcast about people, perspective, and the ideas that shape who we're becoming. If this episode sparks something for you, stay curious. We'll see you soon.